Okay, we're going to do a frame slider install on a 2010 Kawasaki Z1000. This is the Kawasaki new model Z1000. There are a few accessories out for this thing now that it's about a year out. We're going to do a frame slider install, and we're going to use these OESaccessories frame sliders. They look like they're built really well. Real affordable frame sliders, and you can get them from OESaccessories.com. The sliders are Delrin. They're about 3 inches long, but I'd probably have to get an exact measurement on those. They come with a 12.9 grade bolt and the washers that you need to install them inside the slider. We're also going to recycle the washers that are on the bike right now to get them installed properly. If you have any questions, you can certainly jump over to OESaccessories.com and check out the PDF there where they have all the installation instructions. Pretty straightforward, but here's a few tools that you're going to need to get this thing done. 14 millimeter socket. 14 millimeter socket is going to take out 2 bolts on the Kawasaki. We're going to go ahead and use a hex bit kit here. These are hex bits, long ones, which is handy for this slider install because you do need to engage the bolt once it gets down inside the slider. This one particularly uses the 8 millimeter to engage that head. So we're also going to use the torque wrench here. We've got a Craftsman micro torque wrench. I've heard mixed reviews on them. I like it. It seems to work, and we're just going to torque it down to 35 foot-pounds once we get everything in place. And last but not least, we obviously have our full set of sockets, and I doubt we'll use them all. But again, nice to have when you're doing a job like this. Also in my pocket, I'm going to stand up. I have some red Loctite here. OES recommends that you do use some red Loctite on these, and apparently when we pull these off, there's going to be some Loctite directly from Kawasaki on them as well. So they do recommend you use it. I'm sure you could probably get away without it, but I wouldn't if you're planning on keeping the bike for any period of time. Do it right. So let's get started on this and get these frame sliders installed. Okay, so let's take the first bolt out. We're looking at the front engine bolt on this model. So let's grab our 14 millimeter socket here from the set, and let's get that thing off of there. Now I'd already pre-loosened this side, so don't take that as an indication that this bolt is loose. They do take a little bit of pulling, but again, it's only 32 foot-pounds, I believe, out of the service manual, and we're going to torque them back down around 32 to 35 foot-pounds when we finish them here. And you can just finger loosen this once you get it started. So here's the stock bolt. And you're going to want to set the stock bolt aside, but save this washer. This washer is actually going to go back on under the frame slider when we put it on here. So let's get that first one up here. You want to pick the frame slider that has the shorter of the 2 recesses. The other side actually has a clutch cable that comes down right through here, and that's actually blocked if you get these flipped around. So do make sure that you get the right sides, and once you got that, really it's straightforward on that part. So we're going to pop that washer back on, and we're going to put some red Loctite on these threads. It's pretty chilly out here too, and so I'm just going to use a little bit of that on either side. Now I don't know what the actual recommendation is if you're supposed to coat all the way around, but I don't honestly think that there's a whole lot of need to get that thing completely coated. This is red Loctite, so it's considered the permanent version of this. So let's get this thing screwed in here, and we'll see how they look. Now you shouldn't have any resistance while you're twisting this thing on. Really, you're not pushing against anything, and they mention that in instructions too. You don't want to cross thread the bolt onto the bike, because if you cross thread, it's going to be a real nightmare to get fixed, of course. So let's get this thing on. There we go. And it feels like we just hit the back of the slider here. There's a collar inside, and once we've hit that, we're just going to give it a little bit more here, but I'm not going to torque it all the way down just yet. We're going to go to the other side, get that one done, and then we'll torque both of them right at the end of the project here. So let's get around to the other side and get that one on. Okay, so we're on the clutch cable side here. You can see this cable where I was talking about, and you want to make sure that you have the clearance for this cable. It does get a little bit tight, and so you can see the extra cutout that we have to make room for that cable, and that's going to allow that cable to pass through without binding. They do say that you can order them without the cutout, and the cable will just be displaced, but they do offer both options. So if you want to get in touch with them, it sounds like they'll facilitate either option, but this was the recommended way to go. So let's get this bolt out of here. Again, you only want to take one of these bolts out at a time. That's a warning right off the bat. If you pull them both out, you don't want the engine to shift while you're working on it. So one at a time, and then reinstall the slider as you progress along. You can see that gives you a little bit better idea of the amount of torque that it required to take it off there. Still not bad. Just had to get a good angle on it here, and we're working in the tight garage today. Again, save the washer and place it back on the slider just like we did last time around. And that thing gets all ready to go. You can see down in there, and it's kind of tough to see, but there is a washer on the end of this bolt in the inside as well to keep it from sliding through. Now, again, we're going to do red Loctite, and I'm going to do just about the same amount as I did last time around, just to keep things consistent here. I'm going to take this and try it a little bit different here. How to get the bolt started, we'll just twist it on in there. Now you can see that really does let the clutch cable slide right past the actual frame slider part here without any problem at all. And that's actually a pretty impressive fit when you look at how it lays up against the bike there. What we're going to do, engage the wrench here, and again just tighten it a little bit, and then we're going to put on the torque wrench here and get the 35 foot-pounds that are required. I've already set the torque wrench. Now torque wrenches vary. This one's obviously the micro torque wrench, so you'll have to set yours accordingly, but they usually have settings for both the foot-pounds and the Newton meter. And there we go. That one's torqued down to 35. Let's go around the other side and wrap it up. Okay, back on this side. Put this back in. Again, we're already set at 35 foot-pounds. Get it in here and just work it on. And there we go. 35 foot-pounds on both sides. Again, these are the OES sliders. You can see how they look on the bike when we kind of step back a little bit. You have a pretty good amount of clearance from the upper fairings here to the slider. You can see how they stick out just a little bit further there, and I hope that that's enough that if this ever does go over, we'll have a little bit of protection. Obviously, in a moving accident, I think there'll still be some damage, but hey, you can only do so much. So let's take a look both sides here and see how they turned out. There you can see, it's a little bit dusty from being in the garage all the winter long so far. We're ready to break this thing out again here in the summer. So, OES frame slider install on a 2010 Z1000. Here you go. This summer I'm sure you'll look forward to more videos from me. Hopefully get some more mods on here, maybe a full exhaust from Akrapovic, perhaps a few other little things. So keep watching. Thanks for all the comments.